Want to do that because I need to show you some other tissue. Stomach. And so I'm going to just set the liver there aside. And one of the interesting things is they're actually transplanting livers. But what they'll do is they'll give you a lobe. Do you see this is made up of sections or lobes? They can give one person's liver to several people because they can just give you a lobe of it. They don't have to give you the whole thing. Yes.
But didn't you say that livers can like regrow?
Yeah, but you're not gonna transplant probably a lobe into someone else and then grow a whole new liver. What happens is if you destroy these cells, they grow back within a day or two because they're actively dividing. This tissue uses a lot of ATP, a lot of energy. Really important though. Okay, right here's a sac. That's where your food goes into, stomach. And if you cut that open and look inside, there's actually ridges. They're called rugae. But now I'm going to, I want you to look here. And we've got small intestine and large intestine. And in humans, this is very, very easy to see. Christian, Ryan, you guys have to know this. This tubing right here is small in diameter, so it's called the small intestine. Now, if we reflect this and look over here at the side, this is big diameter tube, large intestine. Now, here's what you're going to miss on the final exam. When I ask you, what does the small intestine do? Probably most of you are going to figure out, yes, it digests your food, which it does. But it also absorbs a lot of food. The first part breaks down your food. The last part of the small intestine absorbs your food. So what does the large intestine do? Takes out water. How about the stomach? Does it do any digestion? Only proteins and only part way. So that's another kind of misconception that you have. Yes, your stomach is important. Yes, it starts to break down proteins. But it's in your small intestine where proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are all broken down and absorbed. Yes, Ro.
So if we didn't have a stomach, would that be okay?
No.
Well, let me ask you this question. If we were to take and staple your stomach, let's say 2/3 or 3/4 of the way closed, or put a band around it so your stomach acted like a tube, could you still live?
No.
Yeah, I'm describing gastric bypass, lap band surgeries. That's what they do right now. So, Raul, the truth is that if we connected your esophagus to your small intestine, no stomach, that would be hard to live. You'd be messed up. And, you making stomach acid means that you can eat food that actually has bacteria on it, because your stomach acid is going to kill. So when you're eating raw lettuce or a radish, there's bacteria on it, but your stomach acid is killing all of those potential pathogens. But sometimes we can't. So if you eat food that's been contaminated by salmonella, that'll make it through your stomach and you'll get sicker than a dog. Okay. So now I'm going to cut out the small and large intestines because I need you to see in behind it. And here's something I need you to see right alongside of the stomach. And here it almost looks like a long bean pod. Right here it is. And I'm going to cut the connective tissue away, do a little bit of operation here so that we can see this. We have this. We have all these things. They look the same. But in you, it's filled up with red blood cells and white blood cells. Before they had airbags in the steering wheel, it was very common for an auto accident with a driver to get thrust into the steering wheel. This momentum hit right here and break this little sac open. What is this little sac right here called?
Pancreas.
This is your spleen. And it's a sac for red blood cells. Now, if it gets broke open, you have to go to the hospital, and they operate on you, and they take it out. And you can actually live without it. But you don't have that extra sac of red blood cells and white blood cells there. It also helps out our immune system because those cells stay in there. Now, so we got stomach, spleen, small intestine, large intestine. Now, do you remember that our large intestine, mine goes up, ascending, goes over, transverse, and goes down, descending. Look at the pigs, how the large intestine goes back and forth right here. Now, after looking at these creatures for 25 years, I can tell you that they have everything that we do. And it looks just like it looks in us, except pigs don't have an appendix.
Why not? They don't eat it or something?
I don't know. They got everything else, but they don't have an appendix. Oh. And when I look at the heart, 4 chambers, 4 valves, just like us. If you look at a pig that's about the same size as a human, you can kind of figure out why they take the valves from the heart, sew them into a human for valve replacement surgery. You can understand why they take the pancreas way down back here and why they used to get insulin from it and give it to human beings. Okay, let me cut out the small and large intestines here. And you'll be able to see the rectum. You'll be able to see the kidneys then. So here comes the small and large intestines out. A lot of tubes. I'm going to take out the stomach. And the stomach at the top would be connected to the esophagus.
It's everywhere.
Okay, now, in back behind this, see this layer right here of connective tissue? It's called the peritoneum. And I actually, when I entered this abdominal cavity, I cut through the peritoneum right here. And this sac that's all around here is a really, really important type of balloon. And it turns out that if you ever break through the peritoneum, you're wounded, you get stabbed, whatever, an accident, it's a disaster for human beings. So when we talk about, getting shot in the belly or stabbed, usually it's an agonizing death with infection, and they're breaking through that peritoneum. It's a barrier. It's really important not to ever break through that barrier. But I'm going to cut right now because I want you to see the kidneys. We've got 2 of them, normally. And I have to cut through the peritoneum. These kidneys are behind the peritoneum, so medical people say it's retroperitoneal. It's behind the peritoneum. Now, an interesting thing is, guys, before you were born, your testicles were up inside of you. Kind of like girls' ovaries.
Wait, what now?
Your testicles were inside of your body, in your abdominal cavity.
Oh, there goes my mind. Just shattered.
Listen, but at about the time you were being born, your testicles dropped down and went outside. Now, unfortunately for us guys, that's a little bit bad because those spots where the testicles went outside, they had to go through this body cavity, this peritoneum, and it always leaves a little weakness there. So, as a consequence, here's what happens more often to guys than to girls.
Is that why it hurts when we get kicked in the nuts?
If I was to pick up a heavy object and just use my back and just go, and pick this up, squeeze it all, sometimes your guts
heavy because Brooks on it.
Pop out. Hernia. And because it's happening in here, it's called an inguinal hernia. Your belly button can pop out. You can pop out through your esophagus here. There's different hernias. But for guys, You've all had